like I said, we're going to be going through. Next one's a little more straightforward. That last one we have some different variations, so make sure to check out the video and just sort of review, play around within your roles. That walking Gatami motion, that seems to be the one that people were like the most kind of like, where do my hands go? But that, you know, if you just practice that motion, the classic, just to put that into context. Oh, let me turn this off. So I can like, you know, Interscope's like, you owe us money. I'm like, I don't have money. So the classic application of this Wakigatami is, Pacing Gatami, and this hand pushes my face, right? And so, like, grab my face, start pushing me, I catch. Boom. A very simple transition, right? I would call this the rock and roll armbar, because when he pushes my face and I catch it, it looks like I'm kind of like playing this hard, right? So I'm here, and then I just drive and finish. This thing has a lot of applications. Like, I'm not going to spend the rest of the class talking about Wakigatamis, but if you've not really gotten used to doing that motion, like, I'll show you guys my favorite one real fast, and then we'll get to our last technique. Let me get the guard. So I get like a triangle or something, right? Common escape for the triangle is they reach this arm across, especially if they're like big dudes, and they start circling this way, right? Boom, right? If you are a smaller person, you may be familiar with this. So you go back, so, so as this arm comes across and he starts popping it over, keep going. Boom. It's like a really tight transition. It's probably my number one go-to counter to that triangle escape. So, because what it does is it co-ops. You notice how it felt like the floor just went out from underneath you and you just, boom. When they're like those big guys and they're really stacked and they're really putting all that weight on you, that they just like, just plop down. It's very cool. But anyway, so something to play around with if you guys like that Wakigatami, you find something interesting in there. A lot of applications for that. With that being said, let's go back to the SpiderWeb. So, let's say now we go back. Oh, by the way, let me just make one quick note before we advance forward. Is another common thing people will do is to push this leg between their legs, which is a pretty smart idea. Like this works pretty well to prevent this armbar. I'm going to address that next week because go ahead and hold on my leg because there's a pretty cool transition right here for my leg. So we'll talk about that at more length next week. Next week's theme is attacks that are not arm bars that I can get by them defending. So when we get into that, we'll address that. But for now, we're just sort of focusing on them trying to take the legs over the head. So now, let's say that what Chase does, we go back to just pushing this leg over the head, okay? And let's say I'm not killing the spin unders, spin overs, however you want to refer to it. I'm not ready to get my hips up. I don't feel like I have the timing. I want a simple way to get them back down. Now, what I'll note is, and the reason why we led with the spin over as opposed to this, is this one requires a little bit more precise timing, okay? But it is very reliable when you use it right. So what's going to happen here is as he sits up, right, doing slow motion sit up, as he sits up, my objective is for my heel to find his shoulder. That's all I want, is just this heel to find his shoulder. And then the goal here, guys, is I'm not going to try to push him backward, because like, give me a little bit of resistance. Try to push him towards his back. It's like a lot of pressure on your knees. I don't have a lot of power in that direction. What I'm going to do is, when I find the notch of this shoulder, and guys, I'm going to sit you back down. Everybody feel their shoulder and feel like where your pec starts to end and the ball of your shoulder starts to begin. You feel that knot, that little bump right there? That's where my heel goes, okay? So that little divot, my heel's going right in that divot, so it should press right against that ball of the front of your shoulder. Does that make sense, guys? We should all, unless you have weird shoulders. Like, I don't have a divot, coach. I don't know what to do. Oh, you're a mutant. Anyway, I hope someone inside isn't sitting there going like, but I don't. Anyway, so he sits up, right? So again, my objective is for this heel to find this knot. And then I'm not going to try to push him backward, right? If he tries to sit forward a little bit, I don't have a lot of strength in that direction. Guys, what direction does my leg have strength? What do you mean? Like, explain to me. Where does my leg need to go to be powerful? Right. Boom. So I drive straight forward. And I kind of credit card his shoulders. So what it'll kind of look like in sort of real time is as he pushes, he's coming up, I catch, and I credit card him down. And usually my foot will end up knotting like under the armpit at this point. I'm going to crisscross my feet, grab the thumb groove, armbar right here. Very simple finish. If you watch Ronda Rousey, when she was like arm everyone, she would get this all the time. It's this two legs over the ball of the shoulder and the head over the knees. And from here we got a couple of sort of things that'll play out. The simplest one is his elbow remains aligned with my center line, so I have my finish. Very simple. Very simple finish. If he tries to sit up, it's like, try to sit up please. It's like a really strong control at this point. Okay? The first thing he'll do, and it's really dumb, but it's like one of those things that seems intuitive, but it's funny when they do it, is he's going to use that left hand to try to disinclasp my feet, right? Because once he does that, oh, I'm going to sit up, right? Right, do a big sit up, right? So go back. So if I'm here, can you see my feet pretty good, Kev? Yeah. So if I'm here, I'll just like let go of the armbar a second. If he disinclasps my feet, go ahead. Thank you. I go back over his face. Right. So that's one. Two is, let's say that I kind of lose the elbow, right? He gets up, like sometimes they'll turn the elbow this way, and now it's like the armbar might be kind of weird. Now sometimes you can just kind of like make it happen, but if you don't feel like that's going to happen, remember guys, and we'll talk about this more next week, is that this shoulder's isolated. So whether it's like wrist locks, that's there, whether I can also go here and start shoulder locking, or I can go here and catch the armpit and finish the armbar here. So as long as I have this shoulder isolated, I still basically have my attack. And even if, like we're here, this is actually almost like starting to become almost like a monoclot. If he keeps like wedging it, I can tuck it in here, and I can just start rotating the shoulder. And of course, if he does manage to sit up and get over at this point, go ahead and sit up and get over at this point, it's like, we're right here, right? So if need be, we're getting right into the omoplata fight. So let's see, we go back. So once again, we're here. He gets the leg over his head, and as he sits up, my heel catches his shoulder. Again, I want to find the knot of my heel against the knot of his shoulder, and then I'm not trying to push him backward. I'm trying to stomp forward. From here, I crisscross my feet. The armbar finish is pretty simple. If he tries to like disinclasp my feet to get free, and I just go right over the face, and I'm right here. We go back. If I lose the elbow in some way, like whatever, right, he starts clearing it around. It's like I have my wrist locks, right? I have shoulder locks. I can sit up and start isolating this. Finish here. I can sit up, isolate this, and do kind of like a mirror lock. You know, like there's all sorts of different ways. Here's the thing, guys. When you really break it down, isolate his arm and turn it the wrong direction, right? So once I isolate it enough, whether it be like hips in the armbar here, this sort of armpit armbar, let me turn your shoulder a little bit, cool. Armpit armbar here, mirror lock here, kind of like gnarly Kimura here, and then a wrist lock, of course, at any given time. So, do you want to see all that?
No, I got it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Excellent. All right, let's partner up and work it out. 1, 2, 3.